Sydney's light rail network has been growing fast in recent years. In 2019, the L2 line from Circular Quay out to Randwick opened, and in 2020 that was followed by the L3 line out to Kingsford. On top of those, the Parramatta Light Rail project, or the L4, is set to open sometime in the next few weeks. So, with all this expansion going on, many have found themselves wondering what's next for the growing system. Well, there have been a few proposals thrown around, including one from then Balmain MP James Parker to run a light rail line over the currently disused Glebe Island Bridge between the suburbs of Pyrmont and Balmain, as well as one from Waverley Council to build a light rail line down from Oxford Street to Bondi Beach. But the proposal that I'd say is the most likely of the bunch, and is the one with the biggest backing, is the Parramatta Road and Green Square light rail. The plan is supported by the various local councils it would run through, including the City of Sydney Council, the Inner West Council and Burwood Council, as well as Ultrac, the private consortium that built and currently operates the L2 and L3 light rail lines. Sydney City Council has even been progressively acquiring land in the Green Square precinct in preparation for the project, and Sydney Lord Mayor Clover Moore even pledged to provide $100 million towards the project. On top of that, Ultrac even offered to pay for the project's upfront construction costs, provided the state government funded the line's ongoing operation. Even the current New South Wales Transport Minister, Joe Haylen, said in a speech in 2016 that Parramatta Road would be the perfect place for light rail, although she wasn't Transport Minister at the time. So where did this plan for the Parramatta Road and Green Square light rail come from, and how might it work if it were built? Well, the idea of running trams to these parts of Sydney isn't new. Back before Sydney's historic tram network was torn up in the 1950s, there were various tram routes running to places like Zetland in Sydney's south, and Parramatta Road served as a major artery for the city's tram network. Since the routes were torn up, however, Parramatta Road has become the domain of cars and buses, and as a result has become quite notorious for its traffic and general unpleasantness. Parramatta Road is one of Sydney's major east-west arteries, bringing traffic from Western Sydney towards the Sydney CBD. It's mostly 6 lanes wide with 2 car lanes and 1 bus lane running in either direction. Although those bus lanes don't run the full length of the road, and it does get wider in places, like when the road becomes Broadway near the city where it becomes 8 lanes wide. As you can probably imagine, walking down and shopping on a street with that many traffic lanes, which are all often packed with loud and dirty cars, trucks and buses, isn't particularly nice. So it shouldn't be surprising that Sydneysiders tend to avoid doing anything of the sort on Parramatta Road. Which is a pity because the road has a lot of potential. It has ample retail space in what are quite often beautiful heritage buildings, and runs through Sydney's somewhat dense and quite lively inner west. But it's basically dead from a pedestrian and retail perspective, with about 2/3 of the shops on the street being vacant. For the road to be successful, its focus is going to need to be shifted away from being a major traffic artery, and that was supposed to happen. When Sydney's WestConnex road project began construction, one of its promises was that it would take pressure off Parramatta Road by providing a faster alternative east-west connection. Infrastructure New South Wales explicitly stated that one of the objectives of WestConnex was to, quote, create opportunities for urban renewal, improved livability and public and active transport improvements along and around Parramatta Road. In fact, it was a condition for the construction of the M4 East Tunnel that at least 1 lane in each direction on Parramatta Road be dedicated to public transport. Now, this condition has been partially fulfilled, with a little over 3 kilometers of dedicated T3 transit lanes and bus lanes having been added to the road. However, that still leaves a lot of the road without dedicated transit lanes, and experts have pointed out that T3 transit lanes, which allow any vehicle carrying 3 or more people to use them, don't even tend to help improve bus travel times that much. On top of that, not much has been done in regards to improving livability and urban renewal along the road, despite plans to build around 27,000 new homes in the precinct. This is where the new plans for a light rail down the road would come in. They would see the promise of 2 transit lanes down the entire length of the road fulfilled, and would be a major catalyst for that urban renewal. The most recent plans for the line would see it run from Taverners Mill, where passengers could interchange with the current L1 line, down Parramatta Road, where it would pass the major health precinct of Royal Prince Alfred Hospital, the major education precincts of the University of Sydney and UTS, and multiple major shopping precincts including Broadway Shopping Centre. From here, the line runs onto Broadway before reaching Central Station, which would provide a major transport interchange with multiple train and metro lines as well as the L1, 2 and 3 light rail lines. After Central, the line would turn and head south and run through Surrey Hills, Redfern, Waterloo and Zetland, before reaching Green Square Station, where the line would terminate and provide an interchange with the T8 line. The Waterloo and Zetland precincts are some of the most densely populated in the country, and while they do have some pretty good public transport options with Green Square and Waterloo stations, the eastern fringes of these suburbs can be a bit far away from these, and this new light rail plan would improve things. It is worth noting that previous iterations of these plans have looked a little different. When a similar proposal was unveiled in 2016 by the Inner West Council, it called for the line to be run as far as Strathfield. Personally, I think the line could run as far as Parramatta. While I doubt many people would use it to get from Parramatta to the Sydney CBD, the existing T1 rail line and the upcoming Metro West could make that journey a lot faster. The light rail could provide a slower local style service, serving commuters along the corridor travelling to either CBD. Similarly, on the eastern end, I feel like there could be value in running it further out than just Green Square. The suburb of Rosebery is home to an increasing number of high-density developments and is a bit lacking when it comes to public transport. So the line could run down that way and then be connected up with Mascot Station rather than Green Square. If we want to really get imaginative, it could be run even further south towards Botany, and then linked up with a future extension of the L3 line. Regardless, the initial design of the line does represent a good starting point, and these potential extensions can come later. But back to what this line could mean for Parramatta Road. Well, the most obvious change would be the introduction of 2 new dedicated tram lanes, but the proposal also calls for various streetscape improvements in the precinct. The proposal does, however, suggest keeping 2 lanes in either direction of car traffic, and I've got to say I don't think that would work. Having 2 lanes of traffic next to the footpath wouldn't do much to improve the pedestrian experience on the road. And besides, most of the road is only really wide enough to support 6 lanes. So unless buildings are demolished to widen the road in places, at least 1 additional lane would be needed to be taken up for the tram stops. Personally, I think the simpler and easier solution is to limit the road to just a single lane of traffic in each direction. Remember, with WestConnex, Parramatta Road is not supposed to be the major east-west artery anymore. So that additional lane space could be used for turning lanes, bike lanes, parking, and yes, tram stops. Ultimately, this project is still in the proposal stage, and there is still lots of time for improvements like these to be considered. That said, the state government has been reluctant to jump on board with it, citing their already quite long and expensive list of transport projects currently being worked on. This is, in my view, a pity. While yes, Sydney has done well with their mass transit projects in recent years, I don't think slowing our infrastructure improvements down is the right way to go. This proposal as a whole is a solid one. It could bring massively overdue improvements to Parramatta Road, while also improving transit access in Sydney's rapidly growing inner south. And on top of that, it already has plenty of backing and potential funding from both the private sector and various local governments. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel, and if you really liked it, consider supporting me on Ko-fi. I do always appreciate it. If you have any thoughts on these plans, I would be interested to hear them, so leave them in a comment below. And, as always, I'm Kyle, aka City Moose, and thanks for watching.